And joining me now are two members of Congress, each of whom has shared stories that they've heard or experienced of sexual harassment on Capitol Hill. Republican Barbara Comstock of Virginia and Democrat Debbie Dingell of Michigan. Welcome both. First to you, both of you, about what you've experienced and seen on the Hill. Debbie Dingell, you've talked about experiencing sexual harassment over the course of your long career.
You know, on Friday, I wasn't planning on going out and doing that Me Too moment because I know that there are consequences. And the point that I was trying to make on Friday was that there are women across the country, restaurant workers, tip waitresses, factory floors, law firms, corporations. So I don't know a woman that doesn't have a story, Andrea, in all places, all across the country. And what are we trying to accomplish from this right now? And that is to look forward. And how do we change the culture and make this it's safer for us to talk about it. But if you're from Hollywood or the media or on Capitol Hill, though I got a lot of ugly comments on Monday or Friday, but also had a waitress that was 21 years old say to me, "You spoke for me today." A woman who told me, a 22-year-old woman, that her boss told her to close the door and get up on a table to dance. Let's really make this a watershed moment that men and women across the country work together to look forward to changing the culture.
Barbara Comstock, we've been here before. I covered the Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill hearings. I was on Meet the Press that Sunday during that horrible weekend, and nothing has changed over these decades.
Well, I think I serve on the committee, the House Administration Committee, that had the hearings this week, and I shared a story that had been relayed to me anonymously.
I wanted to ask you about that story.
Yeah. It was a friend of mine who told me about a victim who wanted to remain anonymous, but a current member, sitting member of Congress, I don't know if it's Democrat or Republican, I don't know who it is, but asked this staffer to come over, bring some papers, to his residence, and then arrived in a towel at the door, had the staffer come in, and then exposed himself. She left. She then quit her job and has now moved on. But my friend relayed this story to me to understand this is going on right now. And I can tell you from the hearing that we had this week, we had a lot of consensus on the changes that need to be made. I got together with Congresswoman Jackie Speer and Congressman Byrne, and we both went through all of the items in Congresswoman Speer's bill and additional things that we want to put in the bill. And we're on the same page, and we are going to get mandatory training, universal, uniform, anti-harassment, zero tolerance policies in place. We are not going to allow members to have any kind of fund pay for their harassment. That is universally agreed on. And we are also going to have better policies for the victims. So I think this is going to be a change. And I'd like you to know, I think both Debbie and I want to keep the focus on these women who are experiencing this and use our voices in this moment to change this. And we've had a great response from both the men and the women on a bipartisan basis. And like Debbie said, people are coming up to us.
One of the things that came out of your hearing, Congresswoman, is that $15 million was spent over the last 2 decades to pay off for all kinds of harassment.
And that's been incorrectly reported. We don't know exactly what portion of that is, because this includes the architect of the Capitol Police. It includes allegations against staff. So we're trying to find out.
And it's not all sexual harassment.
Correct.
It's
no, I was going to make that point.
Age discrimination and wage and hours, overtime. So, but we are going to clearly say any kind of member harassment cannot come out of any fund. They have to pay that themselves.
And be transparent. You forgot to mention that. The other thing there's total agreement on is that if something is found, that there must be transparent, so that we're going to try to find out. One of the problems is
corporate America has been doing this for years.
I mean, we were talking about how do we make this a movement that makes it across the country. So people do these. What infuriates me is these confidentiality agreements, so that they go and they do the settlement and nobody can talk about it. We should be talking about it on the Hill. We should be talking about it across the country. Let's look at what happened at Uber in Silicon Valley.
But let's talk about politics here. Roy Moore. 9 women have now come forward. Many people say credibly reporting, actions to someone who is as young as 14, a molestation, a sexual, forced sexual attention on a 16-year-old. Congresswoman, do you find these women credible?
Yes, I do. And last week, I think I was the first woman in the House to come out and say you should step aside. I've been consistent in all these matters you've talked about.
Well, how do you view the fact that the president refuses to even comment on it?
Well, I appreciate that the president actually was working with the White House and they've cut off funding to him. The National Senatorial Committee is not funding it. So, you've seen people across the board, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee withdraw their support, say he should step aside. I still hope he will do that and do the right thing.
Roy Moore was tweeting saying...
For that matter, Al Franken can go hit the door with him.
In fact, Roy Moore was tweeting, Al Franken admits guilt after photographic evidence of his abuse surfaces. Mitch, let's investigate, Mitch McConnell. In Alabama, according to his tweet, zero evidence, allegations 100% rejected. Mitch, Moore must quit immediately or be expelled. Is there a double standard here?
No, I don't think that there's a double standard. I think we've got to be very careful. Now, I'm going to say this, that everybody's entitled to be innocent until proven guilty. But when people come forward, there's a large group of people. Al Franken's going to the Ethics Committee. Let's see where that goes. Are there more stories? We can't defend any of this. These gotcha questions. There is despicable, ugly behavior across the country. And men and women together, here we are, a women's panel. This isn't going to get fixed. Men have wives, sisters, daughters, friends, families. We got to fix this together and change the culture. And by the way, it's been going on for too long. It's not just these men. There are 1,000 names out there. Many of them are dead now. Let's fix the problem.
Is Democrat
let's get the focus back on the women too?
But is Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand wrong when she says that Bill Clinton should have resigned back during the Lewinsky scandal? Debbie Dingell?
I have 1,000 thoughts on all this. And by the way, the names we're talking about now, you and I both know these stories go back forever. I want to go forward because I don't want to make sensational news. Do you beat your wife? I think it's despicable. I was the Songus delegate. But I think that we've got to focus on what the future is. Doing gotcha questions to people like us isn't going to solve the problem, and we got to start moving forward.
Well, and I think one of the things that we've talked about, too, is having these workplace surveys, really understanding the problem. And I think we do, the politics is going to sort itself out, but for the women in our workplace, but also women in workplaces across the country, we need to make sure there are really understanding what the problem is, who are victims, and we know predators target people who are weak and can't come forward. So we need to use this moment where those of us who are in a position to do it can come forward and say there's going to be zero tolerance. We want it enforced in Congress, the same rules as everybody else, and we want the corporate world and Hollywood. One of the things we're doing is saying, Harvey Weinstein was running all these settlements and payments, perhaps through his business. You cannot take a taxpayer deduction for that. That is going to end.
We're going to have to leave it there. We'll see whether this is a change, a real change, or whether it's just more of the same.
We are committed to getting the legislation.
We all of us, have to bring about real change in this country.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.